Hello, this is the Life of Brian video. I made it 12 hours ago and they blocked it before I could even process it. Somehow or other, in my own living room, in the uploading of the hour-long video on this massive political scandal to steal everything from our democracy, they were able, in my own living room, to take me down using an old-fashioned Kodak camera. Don't know how the hell they did it. It's the first time it's ever happened, and I may well make another hour-long video. This is Brian Leveson. Yeah, that is what you now understand to be the B-Aryan joke. Yeah, the life of Brian. And I was gonna play you always look on the bright side of life about the sacrificial gesture that is taking the piss out of a false messiah like Jesus, because the man who played the life of Brian actor died at 40, and God is really, really powerful and intimidating, as indicated by that tab. That's the author Christopher Hitchens, who wrote the book called God Is Not Great, and within a few months of its publication he's dead in the shallow grave. And I want to take you to all of the religious jokes that all of these people share. Remember that the Levites in the Bible are the administrators for the high priests of Israel and the Israeli armies. Yeah, and all of it is linked in. So these are openly Jewish people, and this is the inquest about the whole of the newspaper media empires run by Rupert Murdoch and all of the hacking scandals. And that man, yeah, Mr. Blobby, John Prescott, has now been almost totally written out of the stories. He got, I think, somewhere between 40 and 50,000 remuneration for being abused by the British press, yeah, in this series of fudged inquests to take the minds off the war in Iraq that Tony Blair had sparked at that time. Okay, we keep talking about the socialist, which is why I keep pointing the camera at Mr. Blobby. Yeah, he then tried to profiteer as a police commissioner. I exposed everything he had done and his socialist roots, and his name is just a cheap shot cover for the grandparents of the Bush dynasty, who we now know, since I got my sectioning threat, are linked to the Piso Bible authors. So you've got another linkage between the Jewish nation and King Herod, who's in the Roman court at the time that the Pisos were faking up the Bible. Yeah, and he is the great grandfather of the person that we cover in these tabs up here on the dead Lib Dem jokers that dare to make the religious jokes. And I'm going to show you how that links in to the Up Pompeii movie. So let's get on with it. Okay, we could tell you a little bit about Brian Leveson. His place of residence in London is typically ironic. He lives in the, let me just have a look at his Wikipedia profile and then we can shut it down. Okay, his deputy is a harlot. Isn't that convenient? In 2013, after they'd just gotten rid of Greg Hallett, who exposed the massive changes in the laws of succession, and everybody was unaware at that stage of the changes of the psychiatric issues and the laws around the Mental Health Act in Scotland, which was changed in 2012, coincident with the changes in the laws of succession in England, all reported with the illegitimate monarchy by Greg Hallett, my mate on Skype. Yeah, and the Golding references that we've seen to Ellie Golding and her links to Michael Parkinson of the corrupted BBC and ITV networks, and all of the Ponzi schemes he runs will be revealed later on if we don't get the same result as I got at lunchtime. Yeah, this guy is the Chancellor of Liverpool John Moores University, which is a minor institution but every one of their students still pays £9,000 a year for the degree that all of these people got for nothing. Okay, he's the chair of the News of the World phone hacking affair. Yeah, that is the government-run scandal manipulated from America by Rupert Murdoch and his children. Yeah, who just happened to be in the chipping, not in the set. Yeah, and all of that is coming out, no matter how many times I have to try and make the video. Okay, he was born in Liverpool. That's Mary's arse again. Okay, yeah, Mosley. The links to Judaism and the Mossad concept are unmissable. That's the richest college in Oxford, and it is also the place of residence of his relatives in the Sutherland, Dukes of Sutherland family. They live in Merton, just down the river from St Boswell's, which I've mentioned in this morning's video, because Jim Hume, the Lib Dem who's bailed out of my Facebook friendship sector, like Alan Beath, the Lib Dem, yeah, because they understand entirely that I'm onto their pacifist stance, and that Jim Hume is a relative of the legendary philosophers on peacemaking, who are the Humes of Berwickshire and the Duns region, and they are the Humes that named the Hume Bridge where the Archduke died. All of that has been taken down out of world history since I revealed it. And Jim Hume now makes radio programmes from St Boswell's, where the Borders Council have the donkey field, and he has the horses all over his Facebook page. Those are the Piso icons for false religion, which comes into the story again and again and again, and the sudden death issues that accompany the jokes around those themes are quite alarming and have made me really God-fearing. Yeah, and John Prescott, who's just a cover for the Prescott Bush grandfather, yet in the world lineage that goes all the way back to the Piso authors and King Herod, with the plume in his hand in the Villa Papyri under Vesuvius. That bit of the story comes into the Up Pompeii movie. Okay, so there's these court cases and the killing of poor BBC people and all that stuff, yeah, and the kidnapping of BBC people in the Middle East that include the religious clerics, yeah, that are all over the tabs, that are all over my website. That is Terry Waite and his internment with all of those innocent people who are massive boardroom directors in Hemel Hempstead. I keep forgetting their name. John somebody or other, maybe Craven, but I don't think so. Okay, so Leveson was appointed president of the Queen's Bench Division, succeeding Sir John Thomas. Okay, and it was announced on 13th of July 2011 that he would lead the public inquiry. That's immediately after my first sectioning threat from Dr. Ian Fingland, when I was just beginning to be a fraud researcher, and I was very important then. Yeah, I'm now much more potent, which is why they are ruthlessly sectioning me since I wrote to the second letter to the Queen. Okay, and he's taking over from Brian May and all of the Queen musicians covers. That's the Badger Cult people and the Windsor woman who is got her tits out in all of the Carry On camping movies and all of the jokes about all of the British Empire through all of its genocidal history. And it's associated with the massive red brick buildings in Liverpool. It's an ugly, ugly city. It's a slaving centre, and it is also the host for many of the massive scams involving Lord Liverpool, the Beatles, the Yellow Submarine jokes, and all of the training of the Jagirs and all of the links to imperialist India through all of our ruthless history. Okay, so Leveson and his wife Lynn are Jewish. The couple have 3 children and live in the Hampstead Garden shrubbery suburb. Do you get it? That is the shrubbery, yeah, in Skokie, Illinois, in Cheapside, and all of the Rothschilds' war memorials. Same joke. It's the knock on wood joke. And blessedly the Catholics are asking me if I can come back to join them in the chapel. Yeah, I'm very, very nervous about relying on any of the religious people for any form of support on any moral issues. It's totally twisted. Okay, which is why I'm going to show you first the religious aspects. Okay, so the Leveson Inquiry takes in hundreds of people, and big fat blobby John Prescott, the socialist, who's the cover for the Bush family grandpa, Prescott Bush. Okay, he used to be inquisited by Leveson, and he was asked many questions about his role in the genocides and his profiling by the Sun News Corp empire. That's Rupert Murdoch, who insisted on taking the whole of the free world to war against Iraq, yeah, with George W. Bush, Prescott's grandson, yeah, and Poppy Bush's son. Yeah, that's the Poppy joke from the Roman court that we're going to share with you in a few seconds when we show you. And all of it means that he quits the Privy Council because of everything that I publish on my website. That's on that tab. Yeah, that's everything on the Privy Council, every politician in every party being invited into that, and it becoming an international governance thing, like the Club of Spain that I told you about earlier in the week. And that is the invitations to the Bromsteins and to Conrad Black and all of the lords who get their lordships because they're Canadian profiteers. Yeah, Conrad Black has had a token prosecution like the people that you'll see in the images later on. That's Mubarak in Egypt, friends of all of these socialist elite thieves. Yeah, and in my dreams this morning I was told to focus on the genocidal left wing. That's why I'm covering him. He is covered up entirely by the Quisling media in the UK, and I'm going to show you how that works now. Okay, I'll close each tab as we move through it. Okay, so he's all over the news, but his Leveson Inquest Inquisition, where he got £45,000 as remuneration for his abuse as a politician as he takes the world into the great conflict in Iraq. Yeah, that's in 2002. Chilcot is an interlocking director with Malcolm Rifkind on the Abraxa companies, and he's the foreign secretary for Blair at that time. Okay, and all of it is accompanied by the religious fraud, and I'm going to show you how that kicks in and how it relentlessly, like the Levites and all of the things that we've told you about Levy and McRae and the Ali G, Barrett Cohen dynasties, all of it is a replay of the biblical story, as you might expect now that you understand the bloodlines and the lineages. Okay, so popular, what have we got here? So this is the list of people that they claim were interviewed. It's now half empty because they're ever so ashamed of what they've done during that period, and all of it is published on my website with all of their names and all of their images, which is why Tony Blair has been forced into resignation in the last 3 weeks. Yeah, one of the biggest killers in recent times, and the envoy to the Middle East. Okay, popular videos, Leveson Inquiry, ever so slow to upload. Let me show you some other tabs that are a little bit less populated with criminals. There's Kylie. Oh, here we go. So all of the people that get interviewed are involved in invasion of their privacy as profiteers and selling on the false news programs. That's Piers Morgan, the Morgan financial dynasty, and the joke about Jesus and the St. Peter that never existed. Yeah, and it's all a stitch up. Yeah, some other famous names, because a lot of the things are the little stories about the people that get kidnapped in other countries and the people that get murdered as a result of the inquisitive phone calls that are sold for profit to the ruthless press people. And David Cameron comes into power, and he then appoints those ruthless press people as his advisors in government. And he has to apologise to Leveson for appointing Andy Coulson, and then all of them get into turmoil, because what you'll see on that tab are the exposures that all of it is a steal from the people using the world's international institutions project. Okay, and he's the big boss in the media manipulation. He's murderous in the case of Sean Hoare, and every one of the free press then becomes fearful for their lives, because that's a very real death threat in the office if you're too honest about what your boss does to the free world and its free press. Okay, that's why Conrad Black was appointed as the Canadian press magnate into the Privy Council, and that's why big fat Mr. Blobby Prescott, the archetypal socialist who cannot get his buttons fastened because his belly is so overfed, yet he is the man that has dropped out completely from this listing. 200 people. He has dropped out completely. And now that the Prescott links to the Bush dynasty and the Windsor bloodline to the Piso Bible authors has been exposed, I'm going to be the victim of the next assassination. It's not even in the papers. Thank you to all of the people that have supported me so far. Let me take you into the Lib Dem cover-ups again. Okay, so you can find those very rare footage now of all of the people that get interviewed, all of the people that are in the Notting Hill films. Yeah, that is Grant, is it Russell? No, it's not Russell Grant, it's, oh, here we go. This one dropped out of my mailing list really quickly because he's a little shill. Yeah, he has informed me in his 60-minute interview with Lord Leveson that his rival in the free press in the comedic sector is the man who is Al-Fayed, that funds the bringing down of the Twin Towers and the demonization of Islam that leads to the Iraq conflict. That is Al-Fayed, that was Dodi's dad. Yeah, and that's Dodi that died with Princess Diana in the truck, in the elite vehicle, in the Lalma tunnel. And the Lalma tunnel means the apple. It's too dark to see the apple under these conditions, but that is it. Yeah, the original sin committed by the women. And this is formerly his show, but now we've got a woman asking the questions, and this is a dead Lib Dem because he makes religious jokes. Let me show you what his joke is, and it links to Mr. Blobby Prescott, and they think it's ever so funny till he dies under 50. And I can explain it entirely. It's the fish being the penis, yeah, and that is in the Up Pompeii clip. very easy to explain. So, Charles Kennedy, rest in peace. May take some time, but let's get rid of the other. We've lost the sound.
Ian and Charles, your absurd suggestion. It's time for Charles Kennedy to grow up. Ian and Charles, your absurd suggestion. It's time for Charles Kennedy to grow up.
Yeah, I think this is too jacked. Now, this is Mr. Prescott. I mean, he speaks from a position of authority. I mean, John, as we know, is a man who more than punches above his own weight. I went to see Tony Blair.
So that means Prescott gets into fights to cover up all of the scandals that he and the Labour Party committed in one of the biggest genocides with all of the weaponry that we now have. Yeah, and that is the joke about Brian Haw, and all the Hawkins joke and all the know-nothings jokes are totally ignored by everybody, because the whole world is treasonous now, and they've grown accustomed to stealing from their people. Yeah, that is why Abel Danger will not let me to talk to the Hawkins man, and why the Jehovah's Witnesses will not let me talk to the Hawkins who used to lead their community here. It's the same joke since Hawkeye was in Vietnam, in the medical uniforms, yeah, in the tents, taking the limbs of Americans, loyalist conscripts. Yeah, that's the conflict that Muhammad Ali, the joke about Liverpool and the slaving centres, yeah, was shared. That's Muhammad Ali and Lord Macartney of Liverpool are the traders, and all of it is totally shameful. So let's understand the death of this man.
And he had one of these Billy Bass fish things in his office. And as I was coming out, I said to him, "What's that?" And he said, "Oh, that's a present from John Prescott." The next day, by pure chance, I was walking down the corridor in the House of Commons. Who's coming along with John Prescott? I said, "Oh, hello, John." I said, "I saw your fish yesterday." He said, "Have you been in seeing Tony?" And I said, "Yes, I have." He said, "The only way I'd find out who's seen Tony is they all come up to me and say, 'Oh, John, I saw your fish.'"
Did you see the leopard skin? Let's have a wee look. This one's the socialist with the leopard skin on. It's too dark to see it here unless we pull the leopard into the limelight. Okay, that's the leopard skin joke, the Sabelle joke, the Calpurnius Piso joke, that is the same joke as false religion. Okay, that's fish on a Friday for every Roman Catholic until recent times. Yeah, when a bright little guy comes along who used to be an altar boy and remembers that every Friday when his dad brought home all the sweeties from the vending machine where, at the place of work, and his pay packet, yeah, that is the night that the Catholics traditionally give up their sexual favours, and you get the fish on a Friday. If you're a Rothschild and you're siring all of the Queen's babies in Victoria's days, that is the goldfish joke. Okay, and everybody thinks it's hilarious until Charles Kennedy dies. Okay, let me explain. Let's see what else they've got in it, because there will be more. It's relentless. And that little man that bailed out of my communications, he is the one that revealed that Al-Fayed is the editor of Punch, and Punch is the publisher of all of the illegitimate royal Queen Victoria siring scandals. On the front page, if you're rich enough to afford Punch, in those days, yeah, in Victorian days, that's Queen Victoria who wore the white virginal wedding dress, and she was married at 14, and she had Marcus Manuel, her first son, on the Isle of Wight when she was 12. Okay? And all of it is massive, and that is the religious fraud, yeah, and that is Catholicism and the Church of England and all of the strife in between, and that is Calpurnius Piso's image. Everybody's got it on. Shoes, slacks, coats, the camel coats, everything is a giveaway from the Piso menagerie. Right then, so let's see if there's any other jokes to share on this.
I think this was a esteemed deputy Prime Minister having a bit of a dig at me.
What did you do to provoke his wrath? It was Paul Martin, wasn't it? Wasn't it his defection that angered him so?
I think that he probably wasn't too delighted by that.
Although some of your party haven't been too delighted by that. Some people have been saying the party is now a dustbin for disaffected politicians. You're in a difficult position though, you can't really say no, you can't turn him down, can you?
Well, not if somebody subscribes to the principles and the values of the party.
For over 5 minutes. I think Martin better watch out.
So, in my thrall at the moment, there are no prominent Lib Dems. Jim Hume lives down the valley a little bit, in the Duns region, near the Douglas homes, and near John Lamont, who will not lift a finger to stop my persecution. Yeah, he's a better off together man. He's in this cabal up to his neck, and his wallet is lined yeah, by the implications of being Julian Lamont and the business register, which I have published totally, and all of his alliances with the elites and the dukedom all over our country. Okay, right then, let's get rid of that and watch the religious connection to why Billy the Bass is such a funny thing for the enlightened inner circle. Okay, bye bye Charles Kennedy. I hope you make it through the pearly gates. Okay, so this is Patlocker Watch Up Pompeii online for free, and we've just referred you to Barbara Windsor and the tits hanging out all over the place. That's what this movie is about. The opening sequence is amazing. Yeah, it's amazing that they can get away with it. Remember I told you the other day that in the Piso Bible story, the ass is actually Jesus, and when the Pisos begin to run the mint in Rome 100 years or so before they launch the falsified Bible, the ass is also the name of their coinage. Yeah, so what do you see, and what do you think we will see in the earliest scenes of what the Piso, where the Piso family wrote the Bible from? That is Herculaneum or Pompeii or Naples. And in the recent newspaper scandals it becomes Nepal, because you scramble the letters around, and the press are allowed to get away with that because they are run by tyrants like Rupert Murdoch globally. Oh no, we're going to get click ads, and they can be quite obscene on Patlocker. The Patlocker joke is a joke also about the name of Naples, halfway up the spine of Italy on the west coast. Okay, right then, so this time will it open? So that is a pyramidal image. It's stopped the plugin. Yeah, can you see that Patlocker thrives on sleaze and filth, like all of the Tutsi websites and the Angrafan websites, totally corrupted so that they can cover up the illegitimacy of the religious fraud for all of the time. But if you're in the Mithraeum, yeah, which Field McConnell had heard of the other day, Look at Field McConnell's videos and all of the images of Pippa Middleton's arse. Right now, we're off with the video. There's Vesuvius.
Impressive, isn't it? I don't even tell you what it costs to build, what with the price of matchboxes these days. Still, copulatum expensium, as we Pompeians say. Now, I should be around here somewhere, in the marketplace. Yes! There. I say, it's rude to point. Look at the way it is today, it's getting out of hand, there's no decorum in the forum. Depravities surrounding me, I don't know where to turn, but give me time, and I'll soon learn. Oh, lurky, oh, woe is lurky.
So, the character that we're missing there is the bass character. Yet the man that plays the most influential Piso in world history, that's Arius Calpurnius Piso, Arius Calpurnius Piso, he's played by Alfie Bass, and he dies really, really young too, as one would expect if you take the joke of the biggest fraudster in messianic frauds in the world ever to exist. He's the most influential author of the lot. He's the one that they call the man. You're the man on the golf course. Okay? Alfie Bass. And that is the Billy Bass joke in the office of Tony Blair as he brutalizes the Holy Lands. And the donkey is the ass in the Piso story, aka Jesus, and the coins from the Piso mint. Okay? Christopher Hitchens is an easier story to tell. So do you get that? One Lib Dem prepared to make a joke about that, and all of the Lib Dems that have the horses, like Jim Hume on their Facebook page, as soon as they realise I'm onto the Piso fraud, out they go, out of my friends list. And I talked to that man in Kelso, just opposite the police station, where I've been thrown out for revealing all sorts of crimes against the people, and he's now making video programs and radio broadcasts out of St Boswell's, where David Murray has the donkey field right opposite the Scottish Borders Council, who are sectioning me for my insight as a political activist. Do you get it? All of it. That's David Murray of sectarian Rangers with all his money in Dunedin and all of his asset stripping colleagues in the Duchess of Seafield's mansion in Granton-on-Spey. And Ang Yang Sao Ki is all over the news at the moment, and I've asked her if this evening if I can join her on Skype. She's back in Burma now, and they're maybe going to elect her as the boss there. And it was the healthcare fraudster in Granton-on-Spey that told me that in her former house. And that's Granton-on-Spey that breeds all of the leaders of Imperial College London. And Craig White now lives in the mansion there. Okay, let's take you to another unfortunate death. I've become really, really God-fearing. Okay, so bye-bye Vesuvius for the moment. So do you understand that in 79 AD, when the Pisos released the Bible, the Villa Papyri, their home, right underneath it, in that cardboard box model that Frankie Howard thinks is so funny, it was buried with lava. They get what they deserve in the end. And Christopher Hitchens, when I wrote to the Queen, was mentioned in the text, because he wrote a book in 2011 when Dr. Fingland tried to section me for the first time with my disloyal wife, who understands all of the frauds involving intel and treason. That is, the Robert Maxwell jokes about Robert Maxwell being a spy, but Robert Maxwell is a religious fraudster too, out of Cumberland. Yeah, and here we've got Christopher Hitchens dies at 62 after suffering cancer. The name of his book that he had written is that God is not great. Okay, yeah, and everybody gets what they deserve in the end. Influenced by John Harry, Martin Amis, Douglas Murray, Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins. They don't get bigger than that in the theological. Yeah, and you can see the grin on his face. He makes interviews right up to the year of his death. Okay, Christopher Hitchens, Wikipedia, the Free Encyclopedia. Reactions to Hitchens' death. Former British Prime Minister Tony Blair and Hitchens at the Monk debate on religion in Toronto. Yeah, that is where the Canadian Prime Minister has become a Jewish Lubavitcher, and all of their data that I used to publish with Gordon Bowden on their stock market frauds that take in Bill Clinton, Frank Guistra and all the university owners that are also the Camerons in Canada, because that is McGill University, where they teach the CIA and the psychiatric sector how to do electroconvulsive therapy and to turn bright young fraud researchers, or even middle-aged Mr. Blobby fraud researchers like me, into psychiatric vegetables, to silence them. Yeah, that is Ewan Cameron in that case. Still used in Guantanamo and in the NHS by Dr. Fingland, Basil Switzer and Guy Cooper and his colleagues. I forget the name of, Dr. Oostven, the 007 joke all over the Daily Mail last week. Yeah, I'm public enemy number one, but I'm better informed than those sad bastards. And I will not stick my neck out on what the gods are like, because if I get it wrong, I may get what he got. I have a great deal of respect for them, and they help me and inspire me all of the time. That's they in the plural. I do not know what their genders are, and I do not believe that people and humans are supposed to understand the universe like that. Okay, so he died at 62. The man who played the life of B. Aryan on the cross, yeah, like B. Aryan Lord Leveson, he died at 40. That is the Monty Python's team, and everybody gets what they deserve in the end. Okay, so let's get rid of him. And poor Kylie, she's married to a human rights activist. I think he's an ambassador or some sort, and she's left the country in the trivia sector because she's on rehab now, like the Braveheart actor. Yeah, and I don't know whether or not George Clooney has had a period on rehab, but that's the reason that Kylie lost her breast. Yeah, prancing around, the song about all of the lovers and the mountainous orgy in their bras and underpants. Yeah, it is absolutely ruthless, and that is her mockery of the Bank of International Settlements. Yeah, Madonna has run the same risk. I don't believe the same Madonna has appeared in public since she appeared in Scotland and tripped and fell down the steps. But all of them have got so many body doubles that it's incredible. Okay, can't get you out of my head, and that's where they've got the buckets on their head, and that is the joke about their earliest outlaw, played by Mick Jagger in the movies. Okay, and in the early aspects of that, she's travelling around in the Rothschild yellow car. Okay, and her breast was lost. Lily Allen had a stillborn child, or a malformed child, and all of the Prime Ministers, Gordon Brown and David Cameron's malformed children, is explained by their policy making and their defrauding of their own country, for which they have a huge responsibility that they now totally neglect. And Cameron was the recipient of my email through his Whitney office. Yeah, and Cameron was the recipient of my email to the Queen that prompted the unique meeting, which is on the tabs I will show you below, and it was on the video that was deleted before I could upload it this morning. Okay, so there's the Leveson Wikipedia entry, and there's the pictures of Brian Leveson, and do you get the Hampstead Garden suburb joke now? That is the shrubbery joke, the reward for leading people into all of the false religious conflicts, and all of the jokes about fish on a Friday, and all of the jokes about running for your country on a Sunday, written by David Putnam. All of it the same religious and political belly laugh about the war dead. Right then, and when the Levites have to deal with the war dead, if you get a victory for the one true God in the Israeli nation, then you get to rape 32,000 virgins, still in numbers in the Christian Bible, with the declaration in Deuteronomy that you must never worship anything other than the gods in the heavens. That is the false icon that is Jesus Christ, and is now the world's biggest cause of death through all of human history. And you have to pay for your marriage and your divorce through the crooked law enforcement system, and every oath that you take in life, unless it's to God, is a fraud. Right then. Yeah, and there we are. An official inauguration of him as the Chancellor of the Student Theft Project at the Liverpool Anglican Cathedral. They're massive, ugly red brick buildings in Liverpool and in Bristol. Horrible, horrible cities like Dundee, where Brian Cox steals from the students, with 5 homes in America. Right, let's get to the other tab and let you see what the actual situation is. So let's have a wee look at, so Leveson is actually Leveson Gower, and Gower Street is the home of University College London, where Coldplay trained all 4 of its musicians in ancient history, and all 4 of them, or Christopher Martin got his first-class degree in ancient history, and he's the lead singer, and he's married to the woman that is in the Lord of the Rings film, and both of them are covers for false religion. Every song that man makes is about Rothschild Yellow. Yeah, it's about the false religion and about the lights for the Jewish religion guiding you home, and all of those massive diasporas and pilgrimages to Mecca. All of it is a joke. Mecca is where the Quran was launched. All of it was written by the Piso family in the lead up to their dispersion east and west as the Ani Anici in 140 to 150 AD, when the great grandson of the man was Marcus Aurelius. Yeah, and his son is the man that you know, Commodus. Yeah, there never was a Spanish gladiator. Okay, and here we've got people that are directors on the Sutherland Dunrobin Trust. Do you get it? Yeah, Countess Elizabeth Millicent Leveson Gower Jansen, Lady Strathnaver Gillian Margaret St Clair Sutherland. That's the Sutherlands of the north of doorknocker regions, yeah, along the north coast where the Queen Mother has her massive piles, Mr. Alistair Charles St. Clair Sutherland Lord Strathnaver, Mr. Norman John Duncan Wright, Miss Rosebery Millicent Sutherland, and Mr. Rupert Hosey, which is the launch of a new scam all of the time since Joseph and Joseph with a coat of many colours in Egypt. Yeah, can you see how it works? They keep derivatizing it from the same fraudulent roots. And it may be the craven of the Deutsche Bank or the BBC. I have no way of knowing. But it's got a woman's name thrown in for a good laugh. Okay, and all of them are still live right up to 2016, except for the craven one, because that is the linkage to the Deutsche Bank. Right then, let's shut that one, and let me show you first their structure. Okay, so this is the Sutherlands of Merton, the richest college in Oxford, and Merton is right next to St. Boswell's, where Jim Hume now runs his radio programme with the man who goes to every electoral event in the Scottish borders, and he's from up the Teviot Valley, and he takes his kilt and his broadsword with him as if he is a Scottish loyalist. He's a fucking Scottish joker laughing at the treason and blind Prince George of Cumbria and Teviotdale siring Queen Victoria's first child. Yeah, his name is Jesse Ray. It's totally a joke about Scottish freedom for all of Scottish history, and Jim Hume is a sad bastard because he's got the hippos all over that website that is his Facebook page. And Alan Beath, when they started to section me, dropped out. He's monitored me as the Lib Dem traitor for Berwick, as its representative in Parliament, for all of my time on Facebook since I came home, and I've published massive documents on how many claims he made for expenses, over £100,000 a year to get up and down the A1 in his car. All of them bail out as soon as the sectioning threat hits the fan, and all of them commission it. Structure. Let me show you the shareholding scandals. Okay, so this is the leaders of our country who sent the colonists to the colonies. Structure. Right then, scan down. There we go. Shareholders equity figure 1.6 million. Issued share capital not applicable. And the list of shareholders and the people who acquired them is an official secret. Top 20 shareholders, number of shares at value, share type, no data available in table. Isn't that tragic for an open democracy like we now run? And these are the people that sent all of the colonists to the colonies for stealing bread. And St. Boswell's, where they make the radio programme with Jim Hume from the pacifist family that just happened to be the Hume Bridge where the Archduke was killed in the family tiff between the Saxe-Coburgs and the Windsors, who are also linked to the Piso Bible authors through the same bloodlines that we've been telling you about since the sectioning threat became really serious, and that little shit Basil Switzer moved in and out of the region. He's now left the country with the 007 joke about his successor, Dr. O.O. Oostven, from sectarian Orange, Netherlands, where the royals are also fascists and drug launderers through the Philips light tubes companies Okay? All of it openly published by Greg Hallett and me. He's been topped already. I'm the next to go. Thank you to Karen from the Catholic Church for your persistence, and if you are being persecuted, I will try my best to shield your family from that. And I'm really sorry about the cockroach. Right then, so here we've got Robert J. That's the inquest chair at Leveson. He's the one with the nice haircut that asks all of the really sophisticated questions about how Rupert Murdoch conducted all of his private meetings with every Prime Minister months and months before they became Prime Minister, so that the right person for the tyranny globally could be put in place. And he's a director for a time, but not now, since I came on the scene. Okay, so he's inactive now, no address available. One result found for Robert J. QC. Where could we get a picture of him? That's Rebecca Brooks being interviewed by him, I think. It might take a little bit of time to load, so let's go back to it. So he's not giving his address up. Let's have a wee look at his related directors, because there are loads of them. He's the only one that has had to come out of public life. And the financials declare that in 2011, when he was running the Leveson Inquiry, the net worth of his company was way under minus £2 million. Yeah, that's a massive deficit. And he's talking to people. I don't know how much he got paid for that massive geopolitical sideshow. And the world will never be able to know those trivial secrets, because what they've got is the whole content of the Treasury being laundered through all of the massive schemes that I've reported with my colleagues on my website for all of their time in power and tyranny. There he is. Nice looking chap. Don't know who she is. She's got a body double that meets me in the supermarket quite a lot. Yeah, and all of it is absolutely cynical. He gets interviewed. That's Ian Hislop, the Joker on the Charles Kennedy programme. Yeah, he's the boss at Have I Got News For You, and he's the one in his interview with him that reveals the fact that Al Fayed runs Punch. Not many people know that. I did not know that till today. Let me tell you another secret now in case I forget. Yeah, because I've posted some of this on Facebook this afternoon. Yeah, that the Eccleston scandal that I have reported, Eccleston is where the massive castle and estate is for Britain's richest man. That's Eccleston near Crewe in Cheshire. That is where the Crewe Milnes come from to marry into Guy Ineas, Jesus Kerr's bloodline. That's his mum-in-law. Yeah, but she did not sire him, or did not bear him in her womb, because she was Bobo's first missus, died age 100 last year. Yeah, she's the one that went on the junkets to Palestine with General Wavell and all of the disapproval about the aristocrats being safely able to transit and take holidays in combat zones in World War II. Not many people know that Eccleston Square and Bernie Eccleston are covers for where the dukedom live. Yeah, that's the Duke of Westminster who runs the British Legions and has a 700 million anti-litigation fund. And that is Lady Jane Grosvenor's brother. I was quite disappointed when I found that. I've got great hopes for Lady Jane as a conciliator and a relatively friendly person of the ordinary working man, like none of these people are. Okay, so that's Charlotte Church offered 100k to sing for Rupert Murdoch. President Obama and Aung San Suu Kyi, since I reported that her dad was a British tank commander and that Burma was the host for Burma Oil, where Mrs. Thatcher's husband was a director, yeah, she's become ever so popular in the press again, but her sponsor at Oxford has been totally disappeared, which is why I keep naming all of the culprits and their sad genocidal roles in life. Yeah, there's Blair, he's resigned now. Hislop's is pathetic. Yeah, he is just a little joker, and all of the world knows that now, and she is a major fraudster. Let me take you back to the Robert J. companies, okay, and the related directors. So financials first. And I think we can close that Rebecca Brooks site down. I'm going to show you what she does in life. And she gets away with all of it. And then they declare that she's having an affair with Coulson, who was appointed by David Cameron as his political spy. Can you see, if you run the phone hacking thing and you're ever so good at it, like she and Coulson are? And they begin to drink in the Chipping Norton set, and all of it becomes a scandal published by me and my mates, but not by the mainstream papers, for rather obvious reasons. Robert J. is actually used to be a member of Essex Chambers LLP, only he is now inactive. I don't know whether or not the gods might have taken him out like Charles Kennedy, or he's still living in the Côte d'Azur like Beaverbrook did. Yeah, but this is a list of his financials, and let's see how he was doing in 2011 when he asked all of the questions of the crooks in government. Okay, it's not going to scan for me easily. There we go. So net worth 2011 minus £2,309,000, £310,000. Okay, and so that's quite a significant deficit, but it is irrelevant compared to the take that all of the Chipping Norton set draw down, yeah, as democratic leaders in inverted commas, and as leaders of our free press. Okay, let's now close that and show you what his related directors are, because all of them are still trading except him, because he's become a public figure thanks to me today, which is why the first video was shut down. So he's not trading anymore, but his related directors are still trading, yeah, at that legal site. He's a Queen's Counsel. Don't know who his devil master was. Okay, so, oh sorry, they have not, because in the summary for the company it shows you that there are dozens of directors still active, but not him. Okay, and that was for, I think, the summary that we saw there. Anyway, let's get on with the tabs and the political news, and my role as the only investigative journalist that is prepared to release anything. I thought that the related directors was well up into the 20s, but I cannot find that now. Remember that this was crashed, the whole of this video was crashed this morning. No related directors. Poor old man. He's yeah, I don't know how he's going to make a living like that. Okay, right then. And the financials we've shown you, so let's just get the hell out of there and show you something of what they all do. Okay, so this is now the reason why I'm being sectioned, because all of these news items have been posted with all of the photos that I'm going to show you, yeah, on my website. So that's Leveson, the Highland clearances, and Iraq profiteering war crimes. Okay, Lord Tony Blair, Leveson, Oxford Centre for Hebrew and Jewish Studies. That's the Duchess of Sutherland. Yeah, we've just shown you one of our charitable interests. They've got a school up in Sutherland too that gets funded by share releases. Okay, and I've shown you how many duchesses there are to choose from with similar names. That's Victoria Mary Edgerton, Duchess of Sutherland. Remember that one of those is one of the Mowbrays of Broomlands, and it all ties into Dr. Fingland and Councillor Hutton's affiliation to the Plantagenets and Longshanks, and the fact that Scotland can never be free. And you should hear Councillor Alistair Hutton speaking. Yeah, he's not a Scotsman. All of them are in the Better Off Together treason movement with my wife, which is why I've been deserted for making this loyalist stance about how the whole world has been robbed by shills like him. Okay, St Mary's School, Melrose. Even Roger Braird, one of my great heroes, yeah, married into the families. His family are the chief lieutenants for our region. Yeah, and he played rugby with all of the people that are now active in Otterburn, and all of the links to that cross-border treason that leads to the great conflicts and the death of all of those people at Flodden 500 years ago last year. And that's Jim Hume's crime scene. That's Jim Hume the pacifist, with all the horses on his website and on his Facebook page. And there's the Rothschild involvement and the war dead in Iraq. Leveson, the Highland clearances and Iraq profiteering war crimes covered up. That is from the No Bravery James Blunt movie, and James Blunt is the nephew of the big war criminals that were Blunts and the treasonous spies, and some of them are homosexual, and now James Blunt himself covers up the whole of the war criminal stories by pretending that he's embroiled in a homosexuality complex. And there's their Ponzi schemes. GVO Wind number 27, that's the wind power scandal the Donald Trump brought to Scotland. Donald Trump is a director on a wind power Ponzi scheme himself. Mr. Charles Adam Laurie Seabag Montefiore. Okay, all of it covered up. So Leveson 1, Duchess of Sutherland, Highland clearances, Roger Baird, St Mary's Melrose, Montefiore, Oxford, Jewish policy, Murdoch. So the interlock between the Montefiores, who are Rothschilds, and Mount Fire message from the gods, that is through the Duchess of Sutherland and the Oxford Centre for Hebrew and Jewish Studies. Yeah, they're on that, but the linkage to Merton and the Duchess of Sutherland is through the National Gallery, and that's the Rayburn portrait skating on thin ice. Okay, so let's close that one and see what else we've got. And all of this is published very, very recently, and because it's driven by my new insight into the bloodlines. And I think there's another page on that theme. Leveson 2, Murdoch World Ownership and the Walter Scott Bruce Roe Britannia Scottish Treason Movement. Yeah, that's Bruce from Essex. And there you've got the tax haven man, who's Sean Connery, born near Lothian Road in Edinburgh, which is now the massive crime scene for all of the pension crashing and the false product, non-existent product scams that issue coupons and crash all of their investors and savers. And that is David Murray, the legless thief, who's got the golf course right opposite the donkeys, right opposite the Scottish Borders Council, who are sectioning me for my insight into all of the frauds. And he's a Freemason that runs the Abbotsford Trust and sacked me on the river for not killing fish in the period where you're not allowed to kill fish. And he's the fish quota man for Mrs. Thatcher for 30 years, Lord Sanderson of Bowden. And he's the Freemason that understands all of the jokes, even back to Cosmo Lang and the Walter Scott Club in Edinburgh, where he is a member, and he demonises Islam on Remembrance Sunday, and he makes the Christmas charity jokes that are the Tannenbaum music. That's Alec Nichol, who's in denial about his role as my political representative in Kelso. He picked Tracy Logan, from BAE Systems Limited. I was not even shortlisted as a political activist. He trained me how to prepare for political office, and he was at the meetings. All of them give lectures on how to steal from the region. There's Levy and McRae, the Levy linkage that we've just declared. He crashed the Clydesdale Bank, and all of the Anglo-Irish banks are crashed by the Co-op fraudster, who is Peter Marks. Okay, right then, let's shut that one, and let's see how many hits we get if we search for Rebecca Brooks. Don't know why the button is flashing at me there. I hope this is not going to fail to upload too. Okay, so this is a search for Rebecca Brooks on my website. 18 results on different pages. Okay, Aegis Defence Systems Limited, the career and retirement of General Sir Mike Jackson, and you've got the Chipping Norton site and the Prime Minister's tools for global tyranny. Rebecca Brooks, Andy Coulson, Rupert Murdoch, Snowy Samantha Cameron, PM David Cameron, Charles Dunstan, Carphone Warehouse, global tyranny and grand larceny. Okay, we could open any of those. I'll scan along here and we could go back to them at the end if we don't run out of time. Public inquiry or internal review. This is Leveson again, okay, and here we've got John Prescott, Mr. Blubby. He fancied making a new income stream after they had brutalised Iraq, and Tony Blair had taken us into Afghanistan and Kurdistan. That is Mubarak being carried on a stretcher to and from his inquests in Egypt, where he's allowed to live in splendour, and his tyrants and his tank commanders get £2 billion of USAID every year to keep his country in fear and suppression. And there's a joke about Berlusconi and all of the G8 leaders. That's Stephen Harper from Canada, the Lubovica, and that is Berlusconi looking at the woman's ass, probably as a religious joke in the context of what you've just seen about the asses and the zebras, which is the wild ass in the Piso and the Rothschild warmongering jokes. And he's a Knight of Malta. He's a friend of Bishop O'Brien. Bishop O'Brien has never been brought to justice, but I get sectioned for revealing all of the asset stripping of every country on our globe. Mubarak is the name of Shakira, and Shakira is a joke about Shekinah, one of the Jewish angels. All of it is a stitch up. If you're brought into popular culture, you're a cover for the crimes of all of these deviants. Okay? And the Aryan word is in everything. Okay? And there you've got Chris Huhne and all of the energy scams and the law enforcement scams. Yeah, you remember Alex Ferguson getting stopped by the police, and because he said he had diarrhea, he got off with his speeding charge. Yeah, All of that is the covers for the Fergusons, who are the Governor Generals, and that is the GG joke, Governor General. Giddy up, horsey. Kofi Annan becomes Secretary General to the United Nations. He is married to a Rothschild who he wed in 1984. Yeah, that's the poor man from sub-Saharan Africa, where only 4% of homes have electricity. Yeah, and I'm making this in the dark because only one of those 4 bulbs lights up now. They have me so poor. But everybody gets what they deserve in the end. Yeah, and you've got references to the European Central Bank in Frankfurt. That is where Dim Wim Duisburg was murdered. George W. Bush is elected in 2000 President of the United States, related to the Pisos what wrote the Bible. And Prescott is his granddad. Yeah, do you get the need for John Prescott, Mr. Blobby, in the comedy teams? He is amazingly lucky that he's not had, with that girth that he has and the chins that he has hanging down, he's lucky that he has not had a cardiovascular accident like Bill Clinton and all of the other global thieves. On September 11th, the attack on the World Trade Center is orchestrated. 2001, launched out of Genoa, where Columbus, Christ o fair Columbus, sailed from. Yeah, all of it is discovered by the Spaniards centuries before. Okay, right then, and all the Rothschild controlled central banks, Afghanistan. This is why I am being sectioned. None of the newspapers take it on. They cover Andy Murray and how he's doing in the tennis, yeah, on the fault line near Dunblane, where the Christian Bible was, and where all of the Antonine Wall is the Antonine Nerva dynasty out of Naples, publishing the Bible fraud here and conscripting the warlords that are the military bishopric. And everywhere we go where the great cathedrals are built, the bishop is the brother of the landowner or the dukedom in that place. It's amazing that they are able to get away with it without the ordinary people detecting it. But the reason is that they're the only people that can read and write in Latin and Greek, which is why it's important in the Braveheart film that you see that part of the joke. Yeah, and Brian Cox sends him off to Italy and France to learn the secret Masonic rites of the Freemasons that kill all of the people in every great conflict. Right then, Mark Thatcher, PM Mummy's armaments millionaire. Okay, reputations at stake. Every one of my articles is referenced, and it's got, so there's Dick Cheney profiteering from the brutalisation of Iraq, and that could be George Bush's hand, or it could be the boss of Blackwater, and all of the lethal companies that they've got. They bring down their own Pentagon and their own Twin Towers so that they can take their world into that war. And Field McConnell understands all of that, and his invitation to me to come back and reveal some more of these official secrets has never been delivered. Yeah, I made the video 2 months ago now, yeah, and it is a really telling video. I don't know whether or not Field McConnell may have been taken out. None of these people, with the exception of John Patterson, who I brought to prominence. John Patterson had never made a video before I met him, and he did not know the name of his MP when we first contacted each other. Okay, there's the nerve gas issues in Syria, there's Mrs. T, and there is all of the corrupted teams that take you right to the head of the United Nations, married to the Rothschilds. And there's the goose stepping joke, yeah, about the Warner Brothers menagerie. Okay, and everything is referenced. G4S, Halliburton, capitalist mafias, junta, cartels, fascist totalitarian dreams, all of it published all through 2007, 2008. Yeah, and every one of those is a citation and some aspects of the crime. There's Conrad Black, the Canadian newspaper magnate. That's Lord Conrad Black, since I revealed him as being a member of the Privy Council. John Prescott has opted out of the Privy Council, and all of the royal affiliations are a scandal according to John Prescott, the socialist. Yeah, and he is still at liberty. And there's Commoner Kate. Yeah, she is the Middletons of Northumberland, and she is linked to the Longshanks dynasty, like all of the cricketers. That's Colin Cowdrey and Sir David Frost and Kinvara Balfour. She had a body double in Kelsey. She looks ever so old. If it is her, I feel really sorry for her. Yeah, but it's amazing how that Dorian Gray thing seems to come true. Yeah, if you steal from your country, then the gods can get back at you really quickly. The sun backs Blair. Yeah, that is Murdoch's outlet. There's Berlusconi and there's Gaddafi. He may be one of the good people in the story because he wanted to keep his central bank in his country under his ownership. They would not allow him to do that in the Rothschild family. And there's Prince Charles, who's immune from publication of any of his data or any of his communications with any of the world's politicians. And there is Murdoch grooming him to be the Prime Minister and the genocidal leader, and he did a great job on that. He's the man who's deserted globally the free press, and I've published all over the website how all of his companies are run by busted banks like the Newgan Hand Bank, and all of the Prime Ministers and the CIA and the intel organisations that allow them to steal from and surveil all of the people, even in their own homes. And there's Prince Harry or Wills, I don't know which one. Yet all of them have declared that they will kill if the country requires it. Yeah, and there's a pair of tits hanging out, and that will be page 3 for the legendary News Corp Empire. Okay, and Commoner Kate has her ass on the video, on the links to the video I made with Field McConnell 2 months ago, and all of the pictures are obfuscation tools for the pictures of the illegitimate monarchy that me and Greg Hallett have published since 2012. Okay, let's go to some of the other tabs just in case there's something of more importance. And there we've got Lord Condon, yeah, the boss at G4S, Boris, and all of his mates, links to Barclays, the Barclays bikes, the corrupted London Whale scandals. There's Kofi Annan dancing with Mrs. Rothschild, or Nay Rothschild. And do you get the Nay joke now that you understand that the donkeys are Jesus in the Bible and in the Butlins field in Hemel Hempstead, Park Row? Right then, so next one is writing to reach Queen Elizabeth. This is the special meeting when she called the cabinet to meet her, and she, let me just show you the pictures. I wrote to them demanding that this take place, and she was constructive enough to meet her cabinet. Yeah, and there's Ken Clark, not all rape is equal. There is the resigned William Hague, the boy, the child Conservative. There's the Queen for the first time meeting the cabinet, the coalition. There's Nick Clegg, his wife runs the Assassination Bureau in Brussels. There is the fat Lib Dem that touches up the females at the Lib Dem conference so that no one can become aware of me and Gordon Bowden's publications. Okay, and in the Have I Got News for You episode with Charles Kennedy, they refer us to Margaret Beckett and all of Gordon Bowden and my letters to Margaret Beckett the MP for Derby, and her colleague is the MP for Derby is Chris Williamson. Michael Moore refused to take my correspondence, has nothing